Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my tier list of the origins. I'm going to rank the origins based off of how well they would do in PvP. Now, most of the time it's just people ranking them by personal opinion, but PvP is actually a science. We're going to talk about which of these origins you would most want to use in a fight versus the others, so which have special advantages over others in certain fights and certain matchups. So let's get into this. So when we're talking about PvP, there's a lot of different situations you can find yourself in, like what kind of gear you have could drastically affect the outcome. So we're going to have to make a couple assumptions for this tier list. Basically, we're going to consider 4 different scenarios. So the first scenario that we're going to consider is early game. Who would win in an early game fight with maybe basic iron gear at best. Scenario number 2, how well the origin would do in a mid game fight. This would be probably diamond gear, possibly lightly enchanted. You know, about that phase of the game. And then the other 2 scenarios will be late game. The first will be just your average late game. You got in a disagreement and had to fight PvP just with whatever you had on you. And the 4th scenario will be a scenario where both parties knew that the fight was going to happen and you had time to bring with you certain things that would throw the fight in your favor against the origin that you're fighting against, right? So an origin that might not bring a water bucket with them, they might not carry a water bucket around with them all the time, but want to carry a water bucket into a late game fight if they knew that they were going to fight against a Blazeborn. So that's what we're going to go with. We're going to go with the overall score of how well they do, taking into consideration early game, late game, mid game, and late game, but you know who you're going to fight against. It's not just a random fight with the standard gear you would carry around with you. So let's start out with human. I'm gonna put him in C for now. Here's the thing, I honestly think that the weaknesses all outweigh the powers, especially late game, which I think would push the human up to B tier. But human is really supposed to be like the starting point here, the set point. So we'll put him here. Honestly, we probably won't even need D tier. Why do I have D tier here? Did that. Alright. Which goes up to the Arachnid. Now the Arachnid, right, has less health, which is immediately makes him go down just in every kind of fight, because you can't, no amount of preparing can, you know, counter that, assuming the other guy prepared just as much, right? But they can just climb straight up walls, so that's a plus. They can slide through cobwebs and create cobwebs, and you know, if they punch you, you just end up in a cobweb anyway. So this is automatically at least a B, or maybe even A, but definitely not S, and I'll tell you why. They are a carnivore, right? Which means they cannot have golden carrots. Golden carrots, actually, can they even eat golden apples? Hold up, I gotta test this. Oh my goodness, I'm right clicking. They cannot eat apples or even gapples, or I mean they gapples or god apples. Oh my goodness. Okay, well, that's automatically down a tier. So they were down in A because they couldn't eat carrots. Now they're down in B because they can't have golden apples or even notch apples, that is actually a crazy nerf that I never even thought about. That actually makes them pretty balanced in my opinion. I'm gonna still put them in B because again, I really think human should probably be in B. Right, so that's gonna... Oh, I didn't even think about that. No golden apples. Okay, so he obviously can't be S because he can't eat golden carrots. But if he can't eat golden apples either, that's at least B. I'd say he's on rank with the human. I think both of these should be B actually. I'd say that is extremely balanced because they have less health for one, and they cannot regen. Or have all those extra saturation hearts, or not a saturation, absorption hearts from the golden apples. That is crazy. The late game, they have a huge advantage because cobwebs, and they could just spam the ground with cobwebs. But if they do get hit, there's only a few hits and it's over for them because they have less health, and they cannot regen at all. Not without something like steak is the best they got, which is not bad, but compared to having golden carrots and golden apples, it's terrible. But like I say, it's not gonna put him like really low because that's only for late game stuff, right? I'd say early game and mid game, steak is like your main food source, so that's actually pretty high. Man, the Arachnid is actually extremely balanced. I'm gonna put them both in C. I know I keep switching back and forth, but I'm just gonna keep putting them both in C. honestly, I don't even, there's only like, what, 9 origins? I don't know if I'll even be able to use all of these. I already removed D. Alright, now we get up to Blazeborn. Now, for some reason, Blazeborn is characterized as high impact, and I think the only reason for that is because there's a nether spawn, which with a bed you can counteract. So I don't quite know why Blazeborn is considered high impact. Right, so here's the thing about the Blazeborn, right? Flint and steel, extremely easy to get, especially if you start out in the nether and you have to get back to the overworld before you even begin PvP. It's like early game PvP in any situation against another Blazeborn is gonna be in the nether, probably in the Blazeborn's homeland, or else the Blazeborn has made it out and already has relatively good gear, including a flint and steel, which is all the Blazeborn needs. See, the only thing Blazeborn has that's bad is the nether spawn, which again easily negated by the bed, and B, hydrophobia, which is they take damage in water, right? So if you know that you're fighting a Blazeborn, you can bring a bucket of water. But late game, that's not going to mean anything, especially if they have water protection. Right, so Blazeborn, again, the only thing that's bad about them is water. The whole water thing, which even there's water protection enchantment for that. So Blazeborn S tier, straight up. Now we're come up to the Avian. And Avian, do I have to explain this? Do I have to look at this Avian? Look at this, alright? Featherweight, fresh air, tailwind, oviparous, vegetarian. All of these are bad, right? Except for tailwind, which is you're a little bit faster than anyone else. Everything else is terrible. Well, the egg thing, I don't even get this. Like, what? You can't eat chicken. What's the point? Yeah. So, and to be fair, vegetarian, not as bad as carnivorous late game, obviously, because at least you can eat golden apples. And featherweight, you know, slow falling all the time. Like, the cat has just no fall damage at all. Why can't the Avian just not take fall damage? It's terrible. I think that's supposed to be the whole idea of the origin. It's just supposed to be the worst origin. It makes all their other origins not look as bad. But yeah, it's an F. All right, and I get, like, I have seen a couple people make some seriously awesome PvP plays with the Avian, but in general, no. Avian's F. Alright, Elytrian. Obviously, mid game and late game, you know, Elytrian up here, B and A, because they can fly. Probably A, actually, because they can fly, no one else can. So huge advantages early and mid game. And then late game is obviously the thing, because armor. And actually, early game, I should say, probably B, because early game, you can't find any armor. In order to get chainmail, you have to you know, get it from villagers. Leather and gold is the best you can get early game, and even that's a bit more work, enough to get to everybody else's like mid game probably. So you have like no armor at all in early mid, but you can fly. So far B tier, but here's where it comes to late game, right? And you would think that late game would bring it down a bit because less powerful armor. You know, you can't wear diamond or netherite. But here's the thing, you still have Elytra equipped. Whenever anybody else equips Elytra, right, they have to take off a chestplate, the most protective piece of their armor, and in doing that, they actually lose as many armor points as they would if they were just to wear chainmail like the Elytrian. And the Elytrian gets to keep his chestplate, his chainmail chestplate. So I would say this possibly brings it up to A tier in late game PvP, because you can always fly. You don't have to switch back and forth between your Elytra and your shirt. But then it gets even better, because the chestplate, right, you can add prot 4 to that. Okay, right, so here's how protection works. If you have prot 4 on a piece of armor, let's say your helmet, you have prot 4 on your helmet, that does 16% less damage. It's 4% for each level. So if you have level 4, that is 16% less damage that you'll take just from that helmet, plus whatever the helmet will protect you from anyways. Now if you had that on your helmet and your leggings and your boots, then each of those items will reduce your the damage that you take by 16%. So basically you take 48% less damage. If you have it on your chest plate as well, and it'll be 16 times 4, and that's 64% less damage that you will take just from prot 4 alone, not counting the armor, right? So we've already established that chainmail and diamond provide the same amount of armor bars, but because the Elytrian gets that helmet, or not that helmet, the chest plate, they get that extra 16% advantage over their opponent, and in a Minecraft battle, that 16% could be all the difference. They also have the Gift of the Winds thing. So in an aerial fight, that's like, their firework rockets will last longer, obviously, because every 30 seconds they get like a free firework boost. Plus also they do more damage in the air. Now aerial fights are really weird and long and drawn out, but that's actually pretty, that could be pretty crazy, especially if you're the Elytrian. If you have the wings, you can decide where the battle's going to be. You don't have to waste time switching out your armor. You won't get caught off guard. You get to decide whether the fight will take place on land or in the air, and most likely you want to choose the air because you have all of the advantages there. So because you can control the battlefield and you get that extra damage in midair, definitely nice. Right now we have Enderian. Right, so here's our Enderian. Here's the thing about it. I'm just gonna remove this B tier. We're not gonna end up using this. I don't have enough origins for this. Anyway, as I say, here's our Enderian. Right, so we can teleport. That's already a huge advantage. Right, you know, infinite ender pearls. I don't think he even takes damage from them. That would make sense if he did. Here's the other thing. He has more reach, which, you know, in Minecraft is ridiculously powerful. I mean, that's absolutely insane. Now he does take damage from water, which means, well, again, with water protection, that's not a big deal. But here's the problem, because early and mid game, Enderian, it's just gonna be insane. Longer reach, you know, in any of those situations, the fight's practically decided. Late game, even then, reach, way too strong. Infinite teleporting, way too strong. This is where the water thing comes in. Unless it's raining, though, because this is just normal fight. You're just fighting with whatever you have on you, and probably not a water bucket. Although to be fair, water bucket is the kind of thing that you carry around with you, so that would be a weapon you could use against it. But again, that reach, he could keep you far enough away that you couldn't even use a water bucket. But there is the flaw, and that is if whoever the Enderian is fighting against knew ahead of time that they were going to fight against an Enderian. In late game, you know, they had time to prepare. All they needed is a pumpkin. Moving on to the Feline. Oh my goodness. Right, so when I chose the Feline in my SMP, I chose it because I wanted it to be a weaker origin. I wanted it to be C tier max. I did not want to be above C tier. But here's the thing, once I started playing, even its weaknesses turned against me and became my strengths. So first off, you know, they never take fall damage. That includes ender pearls. Already, that's going to move it up to A. No fall damage. Throwing people off of cliffs is like one of the easiest ways to, you know, kill people. I killed FaZe once. I just chucked him off a cliff. He was in full diamond and I was wearing nothing. I had no weapons. The fact that you cannot do that to the Feline origin, that's a whole ton of damage that just is instantly negated. Strong ankles. You're able to jump higher by jumping while sprinting. Now this, right, so this is like a jump boost that you can kind of toggle. It makes parkour very interesting. Right, so you could technically use this against the Feline. But I have discovered a crazy combo you can do it with this. If you sprint at them, whack them as you jump. So you jump and you hit them on the way up, and then you let go of the sprint, and on the way back down, you hit them again with a crit. Basically getting like a double hit in. And 9 lives definitely does not do much for it. And here's the main weakness of the Feline, and let me tell you why this is such a terrible thing to be calling a weakness. You cannot mine stone, right? The weak arms power. You can't go strip mining unless you get strength potions, right? So early game already, it's down a tier just for that, at least down to CE somewhere here. It's, you know, because early game it's gonna be so far behind. You can kind of go caving and get a little bit of iron, but even just finding caves is going to be difficult, and especially if you're playing on a server, which again, only real place PvP can take place. You know, if other people get to those caves first, it's going to be really hard. The farther you have to go out to find caves without any armor, because the most you can have is wooden tools, maybe stone tools if you happen to find the right piece of stone you can mine. Early game for the Feline is a nightmare. But once you get to mid-game, right? You can't even really get to mid-game without half beating Minecraft first. Before you can start mining for diamonds, you gotta get strength potions. Basically, your job as Feline in early game is to A, find a cave, get iron, which will take a while. Everybody else will be far ahead of you. But while they're setting up maybe a farm or something, you're just going straight to the nether and finding that fortress, getting those blaze rods to get strength potions so that you can go mining. And let me tell you something about strength potions. They give you strength. The idea of strength isn't actually to make you stronger to mine faster. So that, I mean, you know, it kind of does make sense. But it's to do more damage in battle. So mid-game, they will have a strength potion on them. That's just what they will have because they need it to do anything. 90% of the time, if you go up in a fight against the Feline mid-game, again, nobody had any time to prepare. This is just you on a disagreement. You decide to fight with whatever you have on you. The Feline has a strength potion just at the ready. They drink that and they go into the fight. They have one less heart, but they don't take fall damage. They have that combo thing. They have strength. That immediately puts them up at least a tier, maybe 2 if they were in E. Like this is A, upper A at this point. Like so, Feline is top of A tier right now, and that's because of their weakness. Right. Next up, Merling. Well, this is gonna be interesting. Let's start with early game. Early game as Merling, you're gonna be way better off than anybody else because this is the biggest argument towards why Merling are so powerful. Shipwrecks and, you know, everything that comes with it. Buried treasures and even, you know, the underwater ruins. All of those have an incredible amount of loot that can help you early game. You know, mid game, they'll be lagging behind a bit just because they can't strip mine. So that's in terms of where they would be. So early game, they would just have better gear than you if you're going up against them. So early game, they'd probably be A tier. B tier, but we don't have a B tier, so you know, bottom of the A tier. Mid game, well, because here's the other thing is where are you fighting them? Because if you fight them on land, of course you're gonna win. Unless like on the water's edge, you couldn't fight them on land. They wouldn't go. If you go out to fight someone on land, you're just gonna lose. So on the water's edge, I'd say yeah, even on the water's edge, they could jump out of the water and attack you, but then you could just walk back a couple blocks, heal, and go back. So the only situation which they could win early in mid game is in the actual ocean itself. Like why would you? The Merling has what, taken over your lake? What? That's not a terrible thing. You're not using the lake anyways. This is like griefing your kelp farm or something. I don't understand. At the end of the day, in a PvP situation, early game you have some advantages. Anywhere else, no. Right, next up is the Phantom. So here's the thing about the Phantom. So the Phantom can turn invisible and literally walk through blocks. If the Phantom is losing, it just presses G and shift, goes underneath the blocks, and then heals. Plus also, you know, the whole invisible thing. If they take off all their armor, you cannot see them. This so far would be A, maybe even S. They burn in the sunlight unless they're invisible. I mean, like, just be invisible. They also have 3 less hearts, you know, which almost knocks them down. Well, that is a lot of hearts to lose. I think the Arachnid is the only one with less health than the Phantom. Here's the thing though, when they're invisible, they become hungry faster, which uses up their saturation and hunger faster, and that makes them way too strong in PvP. Because here's the thing, when you're using up your hunger and your saturation faster, that means you can heal whenever. Sometimes if you're taking lots of damage super fast and you have to eat, and then you're healing a bit from saturation, but then you've eaten and you have to wait for your saturation to die down before you can eat again. But the Phantom is gonna have that problem way less than anybody else. That said, I would say the 3 hearts plus the burning in sunlight, even if you're wearing a helmet, I'm gonna have to move them down to the top of the A tier, even above Feline, honestly though, because that is it's pretty close between bottom of S and top of A, but definitely top of A, I'd say. Alright, now lastly we have the Shulk. I mean the main thing, you know, extra inventory, 9 additional slots, like an extra ender chest. Early and mid game you have an ender chest and nobody else has that, right? Crazy powerful. And then late game, that's insane. Like late game, that's enough to fit a whole set of armor, a sword, you know, maybe even a totem, a potion or two. If you know you're going into a PvP situation, you put that kind of stuff into your Shulk inventory. In that one scenario, that's an S right away. Now I'm not gonna quite put them there yet because we haven't finished them all. Right, so sturdy skin. Even without wearing armor, your skin provides natural protection. Okay. Dude, at this point he's at the top of the S. Early and mid game, he has like something like 4 extra armor slots. It's insane. He is so strong. Early game, you can mine stone, don't even have to waste time on a pickaxe. You just level up way faster than anyone else. To be fair, natural stone is not like ores and things. It's like stone and granite and cobblestone and whatnot. You're gonna have to make a pickaxe at some point if you want to get iron. But you don't have to like waste your ability on it even. You just mine with your hand. So early game, that's a slight edge. It doesn't matter anywhere else though. Alright, now we're getting into his weaknesses. The way your hands are formed provide no way of holding a shield upright. Ooh, alright, early and mid game just took a huge hit. That is something you need in PvP, is a shield. Early and mid game. Late game, not so much. Alright, so late game, you know, especially with that special armor thing, late game they're gonna rise to the top. They're definitely top of the S tier late game still. But here's the thing: is early and mid game they're gonna take a hit, and that is half of the scenarios. So A tier, almost top of C, honestly. Top of C, bottom of A at this point. And then we get to oh no. Large appetite. You exhaust much quicker than others, thus requiring you to eat more. Okay, well. Because that's the same reason the Phantom is top of A. So I think that the Shulk takes that place, because also that and their extra armor. So mid game they take a hit, but late game they absolutely shine. And that is my tier list. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe if you haven't yet. Like if you agree with my tier list. Dislike if you don't. And tell me why I'm wrong in the comment section. Anyway guys, I'll see you later. Thank you so much for watching. God bless.